Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here by Sam Schneider of Primetime Sports Talk. And the Bengals pull out a marquee victory today.
Pudding.
That's right.
Pudding.
And it's an extra because this is the first time that Zach has beat a team with the winning record. So
There you go.
get the extra horn blow for that. Okay. Because this is a signature win for this team. So we're going to go through everything, break down the game. And as we always do, we're going to do the good and the bad. And I just want you to know, I have three things written on my bad, and I've got a full page of good. And that's the first time I've been able to say that in a long time. And one of my bads isn't really a bad. I wrote it down when the game first started because I think I texted you. A lot of people tweeted out the picture of the offensive line before the game started. And you had, Redmond was the only returning player from starting a previous
the only starter.
Right. And I said,
which he's been for what, two weeks before today?
Well, I had the screen grab. I tweeted it, and a bunch of people tweeted it, same kind of thing. But I thought about Halloween. I thought, well, this is about a scary lineup, offensive lines I could see. I even gave it a little ghost emoji and everything. And but that was not a weakness today. So that comes off the bad list. So the only two things I have on the bad list, and they're not that bad. First one was, I know you're not a William Jackson III fan, and
I'm not.
And you know what? He supported all your hate for him today because
yes, he did.
He had tackling coverage. He was the weak spot, not McKenzie. Mackenzie Alexander played well. Bell played well. Phillips had his moments. The weakest link today was Billy Jack, was William Jackson III. And then
I got a text from a buddy of mine who was at the game, and he was like, "Boy, this is not 22's best day. That's for sure."
No.
And I was like, it absolutely is not, because he got beat. In fact, there was one play in the first quarter because the announcers made it a point to say that Tannehill missed the wheel route where the guy came around and just burnt his guy, and Tannehill didn't realize it. So
right.
he didn't throw the ball. That was William Jackson. And literally 2 plays later, they ran not the same play, but pretty much the same idea. Stutter step against William Jackson, and the ball was already in the air. They were like, "Oh, we got this guy."
Yeah, well, they watch that from upstairs. They go, "Okay, put that one in your bag. We'll call that." I mean, sometimes it's the next drive or the second half. The other thing I have is I put down Lawson is the new Vigil, because he had a couple plays today where, I mean, he whiffed. He was charging. He had Tannehill. He had Foreman right there, whiffed on both of them. And it actually, and then, and he lined up in the neutral zone to negate a Von Bell. Von Bell had his first interception late in the game, and Lawson was in neutral zone. But the whiff tackle reminded me of Vigil, because he had so many almost tackles as a Bengal. So those are the only two things I had: Lawson being our new Vigil, and the Billy Jack. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you on the tackling, because I wrote down tackling in general, but it was specifically a couple guys. The stuff that I'm talking about, William Jackson, is those weren't the only issues. I'm pretty sure on that Henry touchdown run in the third, or no, in the fourth, actually, excuse me, that he just out of his shoes, and like Henry didn't even make a move.
No,
and Jackson was just like,
it was too wet.
He just dove the wrong way, like
almost
like he was like avoiding it.
Right.
But yeah, you've heard me talk about my feelings about William Jackson a couple times before. But yeah, I saw there were still a couple other ones with the tackling. I wrote down that I wasn't thrilled with our run defense, but it's Derrick Henry. You know what I mean?
Right.
We said during the preview that that he was going to get his, and he did. We said try to keep it to 100 yards. I think he had about 110 or 112. He had a 6.2 average. I think one of the good things one of the things that saved us today was that for some reason Tennessee didn't use him as much as they should have.
No, well, they tried to spell him with Foreman, but Foreman got his yards. What were Foreman's yards? I don't have my iPad with me. So
yeah, no, I don't have it in front of me either. But yeah, Foreman
had some good yards today too. So
yeah, they ran very well. But But even like on like one of their first drives, I was like, what? Why are they throwing the ball here? I don't understand. Like the game plan says run the ball against
Right.
Cincinnati over and over and over again.
Well, and we're going to get to that.
They weren't doing it.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. That's a lot of the good. So are you done with the bad? Because we're going to close the door on bad. This is a Bengal win. This is a signature win. So we got to close the door on the bad and move on.
I'm done with the bad.
You're done with the bad? Me too. So,
all right.
All right. So first of all, it's color rush day. And when the game first started, so I'm breaking out my Burrow color rush. And when the game first started, I said, oh, great. We're Burrow's first game in a color rush. We're going to lose. You know why? so here, but now it's the winning jersey.
We'll find anything. We'll find anything.
Burrow is 1-0 in the color rush jersey. So
there you go.
Let's forget about the previous record or anything. You know, it used to be the Bengal orange jerseys we used to track because we were like 5-0 at one point.
Yeah.
Orange home jerseys. So, but
you know, it's funny about the color rush. I even made a note on my page here. After when our first drive stalled out and Bullock came out for the field goal, I'm sitting by myself in a living room and said to myself, Randy Bullock looks like Kung Fu Panda in the color rush.
There you go.
Because
like, how's that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean,
hold on my arms and I'm almost as wide as Bullock.
Right. I mean, because the black is very slimming.
Yes.
But
it's not the white.
But he came rolling out there in that white color rush jersey, and I was like, oh, he looks like a panda bear.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you. So,
but hey, as long as he makes the kick,
Panda.
that's okay with me.
Kung Fu Panda. So I've got the color rush. And Burrow was taking what the defense was giving him in the first half, which I really liked. He hit 7 different receivers for his 14 completions or whatever it was in the first half. So I like that. We had great catches by Higgins. We had that great one by Higgins. Tate was, he stretched out a couple times for first down. He knew where the marker was. So I love Tate. I just love the effort. I don't know why he wasn't playing the first 4 weeks, but we've seen the light and he's in there. And Boyd had a great game today. I took the O-line off the bad for the good. The O-line played well for what they were asked to do. This is what I've been asking for out of this coaching staff from the beginning of the season.
Everybody, it's the broken record take of the day.
But they did it today. Don't ask people to do things they're not capable of doing. So because they had literally guys that were on the team for a day or two in the starting lineup, what did they do? They had Burrow getting rid of the ball in a second or a second and a half. I mean, he didn't hold it long enough. A couple times he scrambled and had a couple Keystone Cop scrambles, but overall he didn't take hits because he got rid of the ball quickly. Don't ask players to do what they're not capable of. They didn't ask the O-line today to do that, and that's why it was successful. I was really, really, really happy to see that.
Yeah, the Keystone Cop scramble was when Shaq completely missed Jadeveon Clowney.
Right.
Just for some reason he went to block the right end, and Clowney was like, "What?
Yeah,
you're just gonna." He came through untouched. I mean, he could
not pick up.
He could have killed Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
If you're lined up in front of Clowney, I don't care how long you've been on the main roster. If you're lined up in front of Clowney, I can tell you right now that your job is to touch Clowney,
block him. Yeah,
because the odds are it might even be a double team call anyway.
Right.
So you're probably safe just to put hands on him. But that was the one where Joe had that just Houdini act.
Oh, and then he was hit and he spun around and but it was just, there were a couple of those, but for most of the day, Burrow got rid of the ball. And then I said in our preview video that, I said we could win this game, but we're going to need help. Well, we got that help. We got penalties at all the right times. We had the red zone interception on the first Titans drive, an uncharacteristic Tannehill mistake. Then we had the PI by Jonathan Joseph. Jonathan Joseph turned out to be one of our best offensive weapons today instead of being a problem. He helped us out. It was a questionable PI call on Higgins, but still, we'll take it. We've had enough calls against us to where we deserve that.
You know what? I don't think it was that questionable though, because and I even wrote down Archuleta is an idiot because he was just complaining that it wasn't a PI call while the replay showed Jonathan Joseph not looking for the ball with 2 palms on Higgins' chest. You can look it up. Like anybody
I'll watch
Anybody
the
that
play
wants
again.
to roll the tape back, it's so obvious. It looks like right before that, doesn't look like it's a problem. And I'm not sure that Higgins could have come down with that ball anyway.
Right. Yeah, I'll watch the play again.
He had both palms on his chest, and Archuleta's like, well, I don't know. And then, of course, after we scored, they were like, well, it was set up by that ridiculous call. But you know what? We never get those ridiculous calls.
Oh, hey, listen, we had a game.
So whatever.
Taken from
I'll take it and run with it.
We had a game taken from us in week 1 on just as marginal call.
Right.
In my
Absolutely.
opinion. So we'll take it. Then we had penalties. Beasley lines up twice in the neutral zone and gives us key first downs. One was on a 3rd and 4. It was
a mess. He was a mess today,
was
man.
This is his Vrabel doesn't put up with that. So he's off this team. He was a big free agent signing. They're paying him a lot. They're not paying him to do that. Tennessee, in my opinion, Vrabel really dropped the ball on his scheme. They did not blitz Burrow enough. When you come in with our line the way it was, I would have blitzed some more. And I don't think he did. So we were aided by what I would consider to be a bad scheme by Vrabel, and then bad special teams. I mean, Tennessee special teams was horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. And last, that huge penalty, like I said, they aided us with penalties. They got that interception on Burrow that we had a 10-point lead. They would have gotten the ball back with like 3 minutes left. They still had all their timeouts. They hadn't used them on defense yet. And what happened? We had a penalty. So, they had a penalty that negated their interception. I mean, they would have been set up with the ball inside the 20, and then they wouldn't even have had to onside kick it. They would have been able to kick away and give it to their defense again. And now all of a sudden you're sitting there going, oh, wait, here we go again. Bengals, blowing a 10-point lead. But like I said, we definitely got help. And then I've been so hard on this coaching staff that I've got to say this. Taylor out-coached Vrabel today.
Oh, yeah.
He came in with a better scheme. Everything was better. Like I said, he gets his props. This is a signature win for him. It's a signature scheme coming in. And it's amazing what we can do when we're not trying to not lose. When we play to win. We didn't play the prevent a lot. We kept the pedal down. It's amazing when you're not trying to not lose how you can win.
Right.
So
I think I'm going to try to piggyback on all that. I've already forgotten, I think, the first 2 things you said, but the not blitzing thing, that blew me away too. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I said that on our Thursday preview that they don't ever do it. They only blitz 16.8 percent of the game, or percent of the snaps rather. But I thought that they would. Because they were given a roadmap by some other teams that have played us. Yeah. And they didn't. I liked the scheme. I liked what Taylor did because we were going with all these new guys on the offensive line before we realized that they were going to completely step up and actually play pretty well. If you notice in the first quarter, we were rolling Burrow out to the right constantly.
Right.
And I had no problem with that. I was like, this is what you do. It goes back to what you said. Don't ask people to do things that they can't do, or scheme around it.
Right. Exactly. Play to your player's strengths, scheme to the strength of your personnel.
Yep. So they kept rolling Burrow out to the right. That's when he made that just unbelievable pass to Higgins down the sideline. Where, when it came out of his hands, I thought it was going out of bounds. I thought he was throwing it away, and I was like, oh, good, he's throwing it away. What?
Higgins comes down with it and gets his feet in.
Yeah. And we didn't play the prevent defense very much. We stayed aggressive. We started out, we opened up the third quarter, and the third quarter is always a killer for the Bengals. And we started out the third quarter by forcing 2 punts by Tennessee. And I was like, good, because we didn't come out soft
zone,
and we didn't come out passive or anything like that. And I think overall it's not scheme, but I do think it's coaching. When you were watching this game all day long, all of the guys on defense were way more fired up than usual, especially the secondary.
Right.
Every tackle, every blocked pass, every piece of decent coverage, especially because since there's not as many fans in the stands, you can hear them all on the mic. hollering, at each other, getting pumped up, slapping each other in the helmet, helping each other up, and stuff like that. So I was particularly excited about that. I was also really happy scheme wise because I've been banging this drum for a little while that we came out in the first quarter on the first drive basically in a hurry up.
Right.
And I'd been begging for it for so long. Like
Right.
it wasn't really like run to the line, hurry up,
But it
we
was
were
up
wasting.
tempo.
That's exactly what I wrote
Up
down.
tempo. Yes. No.
Up tempo to start is the first thing.
I
that
actually
on
had
my
that
list.
written down and I took it off because I had too much on the good. And I thought that was, I deleted
Oh,
it.
you can never have too much
I had
good.
started with up tempo. Well, I try to keep it to one page. I'm not trying to, we're not doing it.
I do too. I just try to, I just fit it into different little areas.
See, mine's nice and typed and everything. And yours, I'll just.
Yeah. See, I don't do that. I just sit there and I'm watching the TV and just scribbling down on the paper. I've still got, I mentioned the rollouts. I like that. It was a total team win. You had guys contributing. You had Tate made a couple key catches.
Right.
Sethan Carter made an awesome catch on third down.
Right.
And which shows that, they're trusting in certain guys, which I think is really important. Then you've got, Burrow went for 249 and 2. I wanted him to hit 290 because I wanted him to join Cam Newton as the only two guys to ever have however many yards it is in their first 8 games. But at the wide, just look at the wide receivers. Higgins, 6 for 78. Boyd, 6 for 67 and a touchdown. Auden Tate, 7 for 65. So they all had over 60 yards receiving. And AJ only had 2 catches for 19 yards. But man, right now AJ is like our downfield threat. He caught a couple crossing passes, but he's our downfield threat. And I don't know if everybody noticed, but it was a little windy today.
Oh, so, yeah, no, I stayed off the over on the 295 yards. I still like the over in points, but I stayed off the 295 over because of the 30-mile-an-hour winds, 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. And then the other, like I said, I mentioned about the prevent that we stayed aggressive the whole game, which was key. I'm just going to throw a couple quick mentions in here. Brandon Wilson always comes up with that big return when you need him to.
Yeah.
He just always does. It's and I know that he, was almost tops in the league last year. If he wasn't first in the league.
No, he was. He led the league in return yardage last year. And it was a big return because the Titans had just scored. They had just gotten back to 10 points down. They kicked the ball off. And this is what I meant about their terrible special teams, that they helped us. It's like all of a sudden the Bengals are set up at the 50-yard line because you give up this big return. It was like, we'll take it. But
it's not like, it's not like a dagger blow, because it's not like we won a bunch of games last year, but it seems like anytime we need to stay in the game, or anytime that we need to really put somebody on their heels, somehow Brandon Wilson always comes up with a big run right at the right time, which I love. And then of course, we got to mention Jesse Bates. Right now, he's the best safety in the league.
He was huge. I started him today. I'm in a league with individual defensive players. He's absolutely huge. Gave me like 15 points, which is a big number when you're talking about, half point for assists and a 1 point for tackle and a 2 points for pass defended. He had a big game for me today. So Jesse,
he's
absolutely
right now,
came through.
He's right now, being talked about, on bigger media outlets as being, arguably the best safety out there right now. And it's totally well-deserved. Yeah. He played so well. He had that interception he had today. It was the second in the last 3 games. He finished the game with 11 tackles and a pick, got a game ball from Zach. And I'll also mention, I should just do this every week. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Billy Price got the game ball on offense, which is
why
astounding.
For snapping the ball past Burrow on the shotgun early on.
Yeah, well,
I saw that. I was like, here we go.
Yeah, he got marked for a fumble on that, but he blocked really well. The center of our line was never a problem, and Burrow had, that's evidenced by the fact that Burrow had a nice looking pocket, even if the right and left side started collapsing a little bit, but they were doing what they were still blocking well. But the middle of the line stayed consistent and actually gave Burrow a little room if he wanted to step up. They gave him more time than I've honestly seen this year.
Well,
So it's gonna be interesting to see what the coaching staff decides to do about the offensive line with the rest of the guys healthy.
well, they've got 2 weeks to do it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're going into our bye. What a great wait. I never anticipated this would happen. I mean, if you watch our show Thursday, we both picked the Titans. And on Twitter, there were a lot of people tweeting out all the ESPN analysts picked the Titans. Of course they did. There's nobody. Listen, today was an insane day. There's nobody who went out on the listen, there's nobody who went out on a limb and picked Miami to beat the Rams. Okay.
Right.
The Rams gifted. Okay, Miami got 28 points. I have Tua as my developmental quarterback on my dynasty league.
Right.
So I'm watching him, but Tua, I mean, they got 28 points. Tua was 12 of 22 for like 96 yards with
Right.
1 touchdown, and he had a strip sack fumble to start the game. He had minus points when he first hit the field, but the Rams gave up 2 defensive scores and a kick return. That was 21 of the 20. You have to help it. So you can't bash the analysts for not taking Miami. You can't bash the analysts for not taking us, because these were 2 games where, like I said, that just anybody can win on any given Sunday. And
I still will throw it out there that this year, I don't know who the Bengals put in charge of their social media, but it's so much better because it's been so vanilla for so many years and so eye roll worthy. Jokes from like mid 90s that nobody gets, and whoever's doing it now really is on it. And they were one of the ones that tweeted out, shout out to the experts, and
right. But
lined up Dan Graziano and Trey Wingo and all those guys. I understand what you're saying, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
the only people I give props to are people who bet the money line on Miami or took the money line on the Bengals.
Is this a Dolphins show? Are we making this a Dolphins show, Mark?
No. I'm saying if you go out on a limb and take a huge underdog on the money line, that's where you're saying, hey, I'm picking this upset. You're not taking a team plus 19 or however many points it was. You're going ahead and you take, so. That was it. We had the Packers lose to Minnesota in Lambeau today. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Dalvin Cook had like a career day. So it was just that Halloween and Jim Harbaugh, just to give you the Halloween, kind of thing. Jim Harbaugh loses coming out of a bye. When does that happen? I mean, I was on Baltimore because I said they had the extra week. It's in Baltimore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say this: I don't think ours was Halloween. I think we earned this. I think
absolutely.
We came in. It was no fluke. We came in and earned the game with a great scheme and played aggressively. And man, those players are out there playing for each other and slapping each other in the helmets and picking each other up off the ground the whole game. And as far as I could tell, nobody was getting dirty looks when they committed a penalty. No interceptions, 0 sacks with that line. I mean, what's not to love?
Well, no interceptions because of the penalty that we were, got. But still,
okay, Cincinnati fan.
No, I'm just saying.
Can we just enjoy this for a second?
This was we schemed. We actually came in with a scheme and beat a team that, once again, that didn't come in with the scheme. I think Vrabel complete. If I'm a Tennessee Titans guy right now doing a recap video, I'm smashing Vrabel for not blitzing. I'm smashing Vrabel for looking past this game. I'm smashing it. Like, if you didn't need the wake-up call, you lost last week. So this was not a trap game because you lost last week.
Yeah.
This is a game you're supposed to win, and you didn't. So
it's funny too. It's funny too because when we do our Thursday night previews, I usually take the notes that I make for that to write my preview article for Primetime Sports Talk. And basically, I'm not like being redundant and saying the same thing, but I use those notes to refer to. And, I do a preview of both teams, give the gambling odds and my pick for the gambling. And then I give a final prediction. And I always write, a paragraph on the final prediction. And in that final prediction, I said, this is absolutely, and we said this on Thursday, this is absolutely a game that Cincinnati can win. I don't think they're gonna,
Right. Well, I said they need help. They need help,
Yeah.
and they got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, even in that article, I still made the same pick that I did on Thursday. I'm glad I was wrong. But, all along, I did feel like we could win this game. We just, like you said, we needed help and we needed to execute the game plan well. And not only did we, but we did it in some pretty poor weather conditions, because that wind was awful out there,
Right.
and that, if you don't think that affects the passing game, you're wrong. And
It affects the
and it
passing,
definitely
the
and it
kicking
definitely
game,
affects,
everything.
and it surely affects the kicking game. If you saw Gronkowski roll out there, and
Yeah.
I mean, just whoop,
Well, and I want to go back to something that you talked about earlier, which was Jesse Bates. That interception on the very first drive because we go down the field, we stall, and we kick a field goal. So we're up 3-0. And they march down the field. And if they score a touchdown there, we're like, okay, here we go. Now we're going to trade touchdown for field goals, all that. There was a game where we played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Andy Dalton marched us down the field. We fumbled inside the 5 and didn't score on our opening drive. That play set the tone for the game. And we were kind of like, oh, here we go again against the Steelers. By intercepting Tannehill, I mean, that set a really bad tone for Tennessee, which they stayed at the whole game.
Yeah.
And it really picked the Bengals up. People don't realize how big a play like that early in the game can really change the psyche of the game and of your team. Positive on one side, negative on the other. So that Bates interception,
I agree.
That Bates interception was huge, because I can't tell you how many times we've started off a game really nice, something bad happens, and we're kind of like, oh, and it just changed, and you're just like, oh, here we go. So I think we did that to the Titans today with that interception.
Yeah, I also don't think I don't want to not mention Samaje Perine, because he played very, very, very well. They gave him almost an entire drive and left Gio on the sidelines.
Right.
And he didn't set the world on fire, but the two of them, I've got it written here. The two of them combined 25 carries for 94 yards. Gio, of course, caught some passes as well, and scored twice. That's not bad. Like, I'll take that, in the stead of Mixon. And there's something to be said for Gio. I was never really in the camp of we need to give Gio more carries. I like what he does. I love his blocking. I love him being a pass catching back. But I got a question on Twitter this week of somebody saying, if Gio has another great game, does Mixon go into the backup role? No. And I basically lauged the guy.
I remember you saying, "Are you kidding?" or something like that. I was like,
yeah, and I was like, well, you can't. You just can't.
Right.
Because there's no replacing Mixon. But there is something to be said for the way that Gio explodes into the line. He's already got a full head of steam by the time he gets the ball. Like, he doesn't need to, wait for a hole to open up. It's almost like he guesses where the hole's going to be, right, and just goes. And if he gets stopped, he gets stopped. If he doesn't, then he's off to the races.
Right.
On his first touchdown, they just Quentin Spain, who got some great playing time today. I can't remember if it was on that play or not, but Quentin Spain eventually came in for Shaq.
I saw that.
Shaq Calhoun, and played a lot more snaps than I expected to, considering we just signed him a couple days ago.
I couldn't believe we had him active for the game, that we got him through. But I guess once you get through the protocol to sign your contract, it's like they've taken away the restriction. Now, literally, you can be activated the day of the game.
Right.
So I mean, it's that's part of the COVID rules, because of that.
Yeah,
being able to replace players quickly. They gave you that.
Well, ability. Here was the thing, because after the trade, we couldn't get Finney through because of COVID, even though he had taken tests with Seattle, because he still had to travel to us and then take a test. But with Spain, he took a test and waited a day before he could even come in and sign his contract. So he had already passed a test at that point.
Right.
And then resumed taking the tests along with everybody else. So I was glad to see him active, and he got way more playing time than I was expecting and did well. But the whole reason I brought it up, and I can't even for sure remember if it was Spain now or not, but I think it was. But he and Adeniji on that, I mean, go watch the highlights, guys. On that Gio run, on that first touchdown, it's the biggest hole you've probably seen the Bengals make in like 3 years. It's enormous. Like they just opened, they parted like the Red Sea, and Gio just went trotting into the end zone. And I was like, whoa, what?
Well, another thing I want to put to bed is I see stuff all the time about dump Gio, save the money, spend it somewhere else, dump Gio. The whole reason why we had a viable running game with Mixon out is because we have almost a mini me to Mixon in Gio, who actually does a couple things. He pass blocks better than Mixon. I think Mixon's more explosive and elusive out in the field, but you also talked about the sixth sense he has, finding holes in the burst. So there's a lot of things. You have to keep Gio in the background. You have to. And it gives you a chance to spell, like I said, and you don't have to change any part of your game plan when Mixon goes out and Gio comes in, because there's a lot of things where they're the same type of running back. So you don't have to say, okay, we have a bigger, slower back or whatever. The game plan stays the same. So I want to talk about, let's get rid of Gio and save the money and spend elsewhere. I just want that to go away, because Gio's a great piece to have. If you look at a team like Kansas City, they're never done adding pieces, and you don't get rid of pieces just to save a little bit of money. So if we want to save money, let's save it on William Jackson III and not give him.
Oh, are you coming over to my side?
I'm sitting there. I'm watching. Like I said, I'm not seeing what I want to see in a contract here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, you just said it best. There's no reason to do it just to save a little money. Nowadays everybody's an expert, and everybody can look up a contract and see how much it is and check the dead cap value and whatever. But that's the thing. It's not like we're throwing just loads of money at Giovani Bernard.
No.
He is, for what we are paying him, I would pay him just to pass block for the amount that we're giving him.
When he's in there and I see him next to Burrow, I feel better, because I know that there's a back who, even though he's small, he's that little Joe Morris type with the low center of gravity, which is why he kind of scoots in traffic well. But I know that he'll chip a guy. I know that he will throw his body at the player. I know that he'll be lower than the defensive lineman, so he's not going to get knocked on his keister. I feel better when I see him there, because I know he's a better pass blocker than Mixon. So
yeah, well, and that's the other. He is definitely a better pass blocker. But that's the other reason that Zach really went to him all the time on third downs last year, was because he also didn't want Mixon pass blocking.
Right.
Not because he was bad at it, but because he's our marquee running back. Right. And he was like, I don't want you to get run over by anybody. That doesn't mean he's sacrificing Gio.
Yeah, but Mixon needs to get better at pass blocking.
He recognizes that Gio was better, and he recognizes Gio's talent. And I'm with you. When you see him on the field, the downside is they know you're going to throw the ball. But the upside is, who cares? He's going to help out your young quarterback.
Well, and if he's in, like I said, if we run with him like we did, on today where he got a lot of playing time, you're not going to be able to think that. They've done a better job over the last few games, especially obviously with Mixon out. But even when they had both players, of kind of getting away from that, which is the first 4 games, you could sit there and go, oh, they're passing, oh, they're running, just by whether Bernard was on the field or not. And you can't have that kind of stuff. So
but it's just he's a benefit, and he's not expensive for a benefit, and he's a veteran, and he's doing good stuff in the locker room. So so anybody that's talking about dumping him to save $2 million, what are you going to get with $2 million?
No, not much.
It's like going to the candy store with a dime.
Hey, when I was a kid, my mom used to give me a quarter, and I go to Thrifty. There was 5-cent candy and 10-cent candy.
Yeah.
So I could get 2 large candy bars and a small thing, maybe a couple Fireballs or something, for 25 cents. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was the day. Now you can't even, those are all
3 or 4 boxes
now. Yeah.
3 or 4 boxes of lemon heads and Alexander grapes.
Lemon heads. Love lemon heads.
Mm-hmm.
So
10 cents, said it right on the box. 10 cents.
10 cents. So
but anyway, this is apparently a Miami Dolphins Bengals candy show.
You know what it is? We squirrel to different things, but we always come back home. So
that's right, baby. That's right. That's right.
It's a great win. Everybody enjoy it. We're going into our bye week. We'll do something, probably Thursday again. We'll pick up some Bengal news, and then obviously we are. And here's something I noticed: if the Cowboys don't pull the upset on the Steelers, we're actually going to play the Steelers off a win. So we will not have a team coming off a loss.
Nice?
Because the Steelers won today, and they get the Cowboys next week. So I can't imagine that they're going to lose.
And also, in case anybody does not know this already, the Steelers game after the bye was flexed to a 4:25
Right.
Eastern game, 1:25 Pacific time, which is where we are. But in case anybody missed that, it kind of slid under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the NFL decided they wanted to get Burrow a little more looks.
It was that, or sometimes it just has to do with they don't have enough games in the morning, so they say, okay, what's a more desirable game? I know. Is the Miami game, is that a Sunday night or a Monday night game? Because I know the Tua versus Burrow I thought was a primetime game. I thought that was the only, but it might not be.
I don't think so. I think our only primetime game was the Thursday night
Houston game. All right. Well, we'll see. If Burrow keeps doing what he's doing, we're going to get flexed into some primetime spots, and we'll see how he does in primetime. Hopefully he's able to handle the lights. I think he will, better than Dalton was. Dalton certainly didn't. I always winced when we got flexed in the primetime and be like, oh. I just want to kind of fly under the radar and do our regular thing. But
to be fair, every time we got flexed into prime time, it was always against somebody that we had no business beating. It was always Pittsburgh or Baltimore or somebody where we were competitive. We were a good team, but we all as Bengal fans were like, I don't think we're going to win that game.
Well, and then you have the Steelers record on Sunday night versus our record, and then so
but Burrow thrives in that environment. He thrives on national TV. So that's it's going to be interesting to see him to take on Pittsburgh with a little more people just outside of Cincinnati watching.
Well, hopefully we employ the same let's get rid of the ball in a second to a second and a half kind of approach. We're not asking our offensive linemen to buy more than 2 seconds.
And be aggressive. That's
right. And never take our foot off the gas. So we'll see. I don't know that we catch the Steelers sleeping. I don't think that they ever look, because they want to crush us. So, it's a Steelers. So, but we'll see. Well, we got a couple weeks to get ready. With that, Sam, tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at Talk Primetime or primetimesportstalk.com.
Excellent. So we will be back later this week with our usual stuff Thursday and over the weekend. And enjoy this win, guys. We're going into the bye week, and let's hope the coaches keep the momentum going. All right. Hooday, everybody.
Hooday.
Hooday.